Good evening. Sorry about the delay. Thank you for your talk, Paul. My question is related to Dana, which was from a talk you gave last week. And I'll have to use a specific example to be sort of clear. When you sort of offer help to someone because you feel that they need it, and in this example, it's sort of cleaning up. So I help, I guess, look after an elderly relative who is sort of housebound, and she's got 2 dogs who can't go out. So there's towels around the house to collect their, urine and feces and things. So she can't always clean up in a timely manner. So we often go around and clean it up and mop and change towels and things like that. And sometimes it feels like she doesn't really like us doing it. So I think it's because of, independence issues perhaps for her. But I guess the question is, how do you sort of help someone when it would benefit them, but they don't always sort of want it, without sort of pushing them or making them feel uncomfortable? What can, I guess, I do to sort of remove probably my sense of ego or something in that situation? Do I just sort of leave it or persist? And any advice? Thank you.
I'm not sure there's a simple answer to this. Sometimes you just take every day, every situation as it comes. Sometimes you muddle through. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. But if you come back to the basic goodwill, the wish to help, the wish to serve, and also some kind of awareness of where your responsibilities lie, that helps. So you know what lies within the field of what you're supposed to do and what you can do for this person. So thinking that through, maintaining the basic goodwill, and then just seeing on a day-by-day basis how to engage skillfully with them. It's, I imagine, a learning situation. You get to know their habits, what sets them off, gets them annoyed, what calms them down, and their mood may change. So on the day that they're very agitated, easily lose their temper, well, you have to be extra careful on that day. And it's a learning, it's a skill. Metta, the implementation of metta and service and compassion is a skill that you keep learning. And you notice people who've done it maybe for many years get good at it, because they've learned how to do it wisely, when to push, when to step back, how to maintain one's own mood, one's own healthy, wholesome state of mind when encountering someone who's maybe their mind is not wholesome and they're very angry or difficult. How to maintain your equanimity, maintain your mindfulness, maintain your metta. That's a skill. And you just keep learning and learning from the situations that you're in. I'm not sure there is an exact right answer to this, but as long as you're developing the goodwill and the interest to learn and to try and do your best in that situation, then you just carry on. If it's easy, if it's somebody who wants you to help them or accepts your help, then it's easy, isn't it? You do everything you can within your time, within your limits of your ability to help them. That's straightforward. If it's someone else who doesn't want you to help them, well, you have to find skillful ways to kind of gently introduce whatever help you can to that person. And you don't want to push them to the point where you're making them more angry and more miserable. So you sort of have to sometimes push, sometimes step back. It's not necessarily always the same every day. It may be slightly different.
Thank you, Lumpur.
Are there any questions from the floor, anyone? Or are we all exercising metta to Lumpur and want to give him a break? Well, it seems like, yes, there is Jesslyn. Just a moment.
Thank you, Long Paul, for your Dhamma talk and all the other Dhamma talks as well. Thank you very much, Long Paul. Long Paul, I want to check with you. Is this vipassana? Actually, I was angry with somebody, and it actually affected me a lot. In one of the Dhamma talk, which I heard previously, something was said, and then it just came to me is that if there is no blame, there will be no anger or no hatred. So it is because I blame the person, that's why I am angry. So that was the thought that came out. So the next time when I have angry thoughts coming up for that person, I will just bring out no blame, no anger, no hatred. So is that part of the metta vipassana that Long Paul is saying that we should be developing or cultivating? Thank you, Long Paul. Sadhu, Long Paul.
Yeah, if you can bring up mindfulness at that time when you're getting angry, as you establish mindfulness, then your wisdom can function. So at that time it can see that with anger you feel bad, physically, mentally you have bad feeling, unpleasant feelings. Your thoughts are becoming more destructive, more negative with the anger. So introduce the thought of non-anger in whatever way you can. So it may be just seeing the harm of anger and say, I'm going to drop this, let this go. Or it may be consciously bringing in the thought of goodwill, metta. There's a few different reflections you might bring in depending on what works for you, what your mind resonates with. But the important thing is to practice bringing in the mindfulness, bringing up mindfulness as quickly as you can. You know, it's like a fire, isn't it? Anger is like a fire, so you want to put out the fire as quickly as you can so it's less destructive, it does less damage. And that's practice. What we tend to do when we're getting angry is we go with the thoughts that are justifying the anger, the reasons why we're angry, and focusing on what's wrong and how things should be and it's not. We get caught up in all the negative details and the trains of thought. So at a time when you're not angry, it's sometimes good to stop and tell yourself, look, that's not the way to go, because that will only feed the anger and make it last longer and make it worse. As soon as I'm getting angry, that's the time to establish mindfulness. And if I'm talking to someone, maybe that's the time to stop talking. If I'm acting in anger, that's the time to stop. And try and teach yourself to see the value of doing that, to calm down at that moment when you're angry and find skillful strategies, skillful things that you can do at the time when you're getting angry. So you know what to turn to at that time. To turn away, to change the subject, to ignore, whatever you need to do at that time when you're getting angry to make your anger subside. And you can always come back at a different time to continue a conversation or continue something if you need to. But to try and make it a priority to see anger is always bad. So when I'm angry, I need to manage that, restrain it, be careful, be mindful, and get in that habit as much as you can. Until after a while it becomes more automatic. So as soon as anger is arising, it's being triggered, but then your mind quickly withdraws from that because it knows it's not good.
Thank you, Sadhu Lampo. Allow me to read 2 questions that's typed in the chat box. First one is from Bingwa from Singapore. Thank you, Bhante, for this talk on metta meditation. The question is metta purely mental, like a preventive measure for loving kindness to oneself and to others? Is metta different from dana, which is an act that is physical and given wholeheartedly to others? Would that be right, that metta is a mental wish of goodwill as opposed to dana, which is to do with material things?
Well, when you practice dana, there's the mental qualities that come with the dana, the giving, the sharing. So you'll probably find metta is one of the qualities that comes up naturally when you practice dana. Of course, it can be just a purely meditative quality. You just develop it very purely when you're sitting quietly on your own as well. It can also be a quality that comes up when you practice sila. So you are naturally developing non-violence, non-abusive behavior, disrespectful behavior, and so on. So in every level of our practice, metta tends to be there, but it's not alone, and depending on the situation, there'll be other qualities that come up and may be more prominent as well. So with dana, it's that sharing, renunciation, maybe renunciation of attachment to something by giving it away, as well as the metta. And our mind is it has many different wholesome qualities it can develop, and they can support each other, help each other. So try and see it in that way. It's the one mind, but these qualities are coming up. Sometimes they're alternating, sometimes one is more prominent than another. And so the metta may prompt dana sometimes. You have goodwill for someone, and then you think, oh, this person, what can I do to help them? And maybe they have a specific problem, and then you realize I can help them in that way. So then the dana comes. But the actual initial thought was metta. Dana can also lead on to metta. So you practice dana with someone, say, share something or you help them, they respond well, they show their delight, their happiness with the dana, they show their anumodana, their appreciation for the dana, so they show metta back to you, and then you show metta to them. So, one thing leads to another. I think you'll find in a well-developed mind, the mind of the enlightened ones or the noble ones, metta and dana are pretty much simultaneously there, but it's just how it's expressed, whether it's just expressed as a thought, a feeling, or through words, or through actions. We express it in different ways.
Thank you, Lampa. Second question, and this question is from Leong Wei Fan. Bante, if one is experiencing different unwholesome emotions, such as dissatisfaction with life due to greed and unhappiness, or dislike due to disappointments with oneself, how can metta untangle the ball of different unwholesome emotions?
Well, it's a good starting point. Right? With the bringing up the quality of metta, it's like you're bringing up the quality of tolerance. So if you do have a lot of negativity, dissatisfaction, suffering, you're bringing up the sense of acceptance of who you are, what's happening in your life, how you're thinking, how you're feeling. There's some tolerance, acceptance, which allows the mind to function better and maybe look for understanding what's going on better. So if you're having a lot of negativity, resentment or some kind of negativity coming up, but you're going to metta, then when you look at that, back at that negativity, the resentment or whatever it is, you start to look with the right kind of eyes, it's the right look at it, and you're seeing it as suffering, and there's the wish, this is suffering, this is something we have to deal with and end. We don't want to keep suffering. Just like a parent with their child, if their child is suffering, maybe the child has got themselves into their suffering through their naughty behavior. They're being mischievous or naughty and done something, and now they're suffering. They're in trouble with their teacher, or they fell over because they were playing around too much or something. So they're suffering. Then you bring the metta in, what can we do to help this child at this time? Teach them or bandage their wound, or you see what needs to be done because there's metta. And you do that with yourself as well. If you're having a lot of mental stress, suffering, then try and bring up the metta to say, well, what needs to be done here? What's the right response? What will help improve this situation? help me to get beyond my unpleasant emotional states. So it's a bit like, the parents of the mind coming in to see what needs to be done to fix up the problem.
Thank you, Lampo. We have a final question. I'd like to call for Minaka from Melbourne. Please unmute yourself, Minaka.
Yes, hi, Lampo. I have a question, Lampo. When someone talk to us, and if I heard when they talk, and after that I don't have any intention to talk to them again. So is this something like particular mind or something? Just I want to clarify something with you. And also there's another question. When I talk to one person and I don't know they are angry with me, but after I realize there is some problem they have and they are not happy to talk to me, then again I feel like I don't want to talk them much, something like that. Is this again a particular mind, Lampo?
Well, it could be. You have to ask yourself that. You have to ask what's going on in your mind at that time. Become mindful, aware, and clear in your intention and the mental state. If someone is angry with us, then sometimes the best response is to just leave them alone and avoid them where you can. And that's not just patigha. It could be coming from wisdom and understanding of the situation, and you just know they don't like me. I'll just quietly let them get on with their life and do their thing, and I'll do my thing, and we don't have to be together. So it can be from wisdom, but generally, the unenlightened person, we meet with someone who's angry and they're angry towards us, we generally will have some aversion arise in our mind. So that's something to contemplate. And sometimes you can't contemplate in the moment, it's too difficult. So you go away and you contemplate when you're quietly on your own. And then when you've contemplated, maybe you've calmed yourself, you let go of your aversion, then you consider, do I need to talk to that person? And you have to see who the person is. If it's your boss at work or some family member, you may still have to talk to them, and you have to let go of, put aside your aversion and just do your duty. And sometimes you talk to people out of your duty, out of responsibility. You don't like them, and you may even be aware they don't like you, but you still need to talk to them because it's required in the situation. And you just have to try and establish metta, do your job until it's done, and then you don't talk to them after that. Other people, you don't need to talk to them. So if they're angry with you or things are not going well, you don't need to talk to them. Maybe just quietly stay away from them. That's the best situation. But you have to consider who the person is, what is your relationship, what's required in this situation. You can't just be generalized, can you? Because some people you need to talk to even if they don't like you. And you just have to be very brave and patient with the situation. And that's part of life.
Thank you, and Sadhu Lampo. I think we'd like to offer Anumodana and offer you metta. It's coming to quite late in the evening for you now.
That's okay. So we hope that tonight's session has been useful for you, and we'll end here and pay respects to the Triple Gem.